This tutorial is to show you some tips on the sunflower block. I don't have a picture of the finished block yet, but you'll see how it's supposed to look by the end of the video. So you just have one page of instructions and it has the leaf pattern right here. And so that's your pattern. And then you're going to start with your background. And you can see that I've got this pressed into a cross. And the first thing you're going to do is you're just going to take your piece of background fabric and you're going to press that. And then you're going to press it the opposite way. And it's probably a good idea to kind of line this up so that this is across from this. And press it this way. Now this center little point is going to be covered up. So if you want, you can put a little tiny X right there to kind of show you where the center is, okay? And then you're going to draw a square. So there's a couple of ways that you can do that. You can just take a ruler and you can line up the halfway point. It's also a good idea, I think, to put a mark out here and out here on those pressing lines, those pressed lines, and then you can see when you put the ruler on and the pressing line goes away, you'll be able to see where the mark is. So this is a 4 1/4 inch ruler, which is half of 8 1/2. That's the size of square that you're going to draw. So I'm going to line this up so that these two marks out here and that mark are lined up, and then you're going to mark it at 4 1/4. Okay? Then you would do the same on all 4 sides. From that center point out, lining up these and that. Or you can do the easy way and do the 4 1/4. Now if you're right-handed, you're going to want to put the ones up here in the top right corner, and you're going to go down to 4 1/4, which on this ruler there's a circle to mark the halfway point. So you're going to put that little circle right over the halfway point. You're going to line it up this way so that the 4 1/4 and the 4 1/4 are lined up on your lines. You're going to check it this way, and then you can just draw all 4 around. But this is the way you do it if you have an 8 1/2 inch ruler. So either way, just get that square drawn on the background and your center marked, and then this marked. Okay, so let's go next to the flowers, the sunflowers. So this is what your sunflowers are going to look like. You're going to use 2 fabrics. One fabric is repeated twice just to kind of help tie it together. And you'll notice that this flower has a hole cut in the middle and this one meets in the middle. I don't care which way you do, it will work either way. If you're right-handed, you want all your tails to go to the left. That's so that you can stitch up here, secure your point, tuck under your tail, and go down this side. And it'll just help you get nice points if all your tails are going to the left. If you're right-handed, if you're left-handed, you want all the tails to go to the right, okay? And you don't want to do this, which is all of them are going to the right except that one. So I'll just have to tuck that the other way when I stitch up there. Anyway, it'll all work. So just a couple of tips. If you're going to meet these in the middle, that's totally fine. It just creates quite a bit of bulk here. And you can see that these little tails are all free, and you want them all to follow each other around in a circle, and that will reduce that bulk. There's a second option that you can do, and that is that you stitch from this V on the outside, and you stitch down about 3/4 inch. These are a little bit further. I mean, I did the 3/4 inch, but I didn't clip them quite so far, so that I can show you how to clip those. So let me grab my scissors that I forgot to bring over and show you that. Let's just pretend that those go down to the middle. what you can do is you can just trim those and cut them right off. So you would do that to all 8 points. And the reason why I only have you stitch down 3/4 of an inch is so that you're not cutting the knots, so that this is still really secure, because I knotted it. I knotted this seam at the end of it, of that 3/4 inch place. So you can just trim away some of the bulk by just stitching partially down the seam, because all this is going to be covered up and we're putting quite a large center on this. So you're going to get all your flowers done, and then the next thing I want to show you is where to mark the diagonal seam. So we want 1, 2, 3 flowers with our stem coming up this way. So you can even mark where that stem is going to go, and you can just go from this bottom corner and draw a line just up a little ways past the center. Our stem will go further than that, but for right now, I don't want to, we don't need to mark up very far. Okay, you're going to prepare your leaves, and I like to do template applique quite a bit, especially if I'm doing 2 leaves of the same shape. And I just would cut my template out of cereal box cardboard. This is the size of the template. You're going to need to cut your fabric 1/4 of an inch bigger, so that then you can turn under your edges so that they're ready to applique. So then you can kind of start placing these where you think that they might go. And so I'm just going to kind of sit them in place, and I'm going to have them touch in the middle so that that center stem will cover it up. Then you're going to prep 2 stems. They're both going to be this long. One of them you're going to cut in half so that you can use one for this side and one for this side. So this middle stem is going to go right from this corner, and it's going to lay across the middle. And I actually am going to move these for a minute. And I would glue this in place. So I'm just going to have it go past this corner. And I like to glue down my applique, and we're going to stitch down the leaves and the stems first. And so I'm just going to glue those in place. So this is how I would do that. I would just put little tiny dots of glue. And you're going to just start there. You're going to kind of line that up with the drawn line. And you can see that I'm putting the glue not right on the edge, and it's very small dots. Okay, and I'm just going to physically look at that and see if it looks nice and straight. Your glue will stick much, much better if you'll just hit it with an iron really quick while the glue is wet. So I just ironed that, and it pressed it down well. Okay, next I want to put my flowers where they're going to go. And you've got these quadrants pressed, and so you're going to have these 2 points touch that line, and these 2 points touch this line. You want to make sure that this point is at least 1/4 of an inch away, and they should be about 3/8 to 1/2 inch away from this drawn line, because this is where you're going to cut. We're going to take 1/4 inch seam, and these will be pretty close to your seam line. They should float a little bit inside the block. So that's where that's going to go. And the reason why I hold that in place is so that I can put all 4 of my flowers where they're going to go. And I want these 2 points and those 2 points to kind of touch each other, and then this stem goes up into this V. So that's where my 3 flowers will go. This flower is going to have that little center there. I actually think I like this one there better. So you can arrange your colors. You can put 2 colors together the way you want them. Okay. So now I have to decide where these two shorter stems are going. So what I want to watch for is if this is touching right here, then my stem has to go underneath there. And then I want to cut it so that it's going at an angle right there. So I'm going to hold this. And I'm going to just lift this up and unglue it so that that stem can go underneath. And I want to make sure that this stem looks straight with the side. Okay. So now I'm going to unglue this one because I know that this stem is going to have to go underneath on the other side. And I'm just going to make it nice and parallel with that side, and then I'm going to make sure that my stem looks like it's going into the center of the flower. Okay, so there's my stems, and then I would also tuck my leaves under, and the leaves can also go, they can go this direction so that they point out a little bit, or they can go straight. You just put them however you think you like them. Just remember that there's going to be a 1/4 inch seam coming off of here, so they're going to be a little bit offset. So that's like 3/8 of an inch, and then I've got 3/8. So you're just going to kind of eyeball where that's going to go. And you're going to glue those on. And you can have the point of the leaf go underneath here, or you can just butt it up right next to it. I'm going to tuck it under because that's one less point that I have to turn under. Then I'm going to do the same thing over here. And I'm just going to barely put the little point underneath there. Need to unglue just a little bit more. There we go. Okay, then I'm going to remove those, and I'm going to press this whole thing. Sorry, the pressing is out of your range of vision. But there we go. So then I would applique all that down. Then I am going to take the papers out of here. And you can decide if you're going to stitch the whole way, you know, clear to the center like this, or if you're going to clip out that center. Whichever way is totally fine. One thing that has happened a little bit when you put diamonds together is you do want to try to get this together. So you're going to sew 4 sets of 2 diamonds. And then you're going to sew those 2 sets of 2 together for a half. When you sew the pieces together, try and start your stitching out here in the V. You're just going to put them right sides together. You're going to start stitching here. And as you stitch down to the end, pay attention to where your points are, that they're going to meet in the middle. So let me show you one that did not come together very good. So see how you can see that this diamond looks longer than right here. It's not that the paper is crooked, it's that when you start stitching, you've got to just make sure, see how you can kind of slide this? So you want to kind of slide, once you've taken a few stitches, you want to slide and make sure that those points are going to line up. And these are only stitched part way, so we can go in and clip those. And it might be easier, no, I'm going to clip from the front. So you just have to get your scissor under there. I maybe should have started with a bigger scissor. There we go. So you can just clip that bulk away if you want. And then you won't even notice that they're not perfectly lined up. But if you want to ever become a really good paper piecer, then you've got to practice on getting your points good. Even though in this instance we are cutting them away. Sometimes you won't cover them up. Okay, so there's one, and see how when you get that trimmed away you don't notice that it was crooked. And that'll work just fine for this. You're going to prep 3 circles for the flower centers. And I used a 1.5 inch, I think, perfect circle. Just find, let's see, I think that is, let me measure. Yep, it's a 1.5. So you're going to do 3 circles for the center, and you're going to put, after I get this appliqued, then I'll take out the papers, and then I'll glue these in place and applique those down, and then I will put the 3 centers on and applique those down. And that is your sunflower block. It should be 8.5 inches after you trim it. You don't trim until everything is appliqued down. And then you can trim, and that trimming line should be pretty close to those. You may have a little bit of shrinkage from applique, but it should be pretty darn close to that trimming line. The drawn line should be close to the trim line. One thing, don't stitch down here where you're going to trim. So just start your stitching right here at the line and go up, and then right there at the line and go up, because then when you cut and trim that, you won't cut your stitches and your stuff won't come undone. And that is the sunflower block.